But my name is Sarah. I am a development associate at the NRI. I am here today simply serving as a host as we all get to know our new director, Steve Hursting. I'm not going to really go into too many details about Steve because the goal is, as we go through these questions, he's going to introduce himself to you and tell you a little bit more about his vision for the NRI. We have some questions that we've made up to ask him. We have questions that some of you have submitted, and we're excited to go through all of those this evening. So I'm going to pass the mic on to you. I can project hopefully pretty well, and you'll be able to hear all of his answers.
Very good. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you all for coming out on this beautiful night. What are you doing here? You should be out walking around. But, I'm glad you're here. This will be really fun. And I felt so welcome here since I started June 1st. And just an honor and a pleasure to be here. What a beautiful spot we're in, too. I was, when Sarah said the ballpark, the first spot here, working on my pitching. So I'm a little disappointed we're not out, out on the field. But
like the Jumbotron.
Yeah, no one wants to see that picture up for very long. I hope that comes down soon. But we're really honored to be here. Looking forward to our discussion tonight. And so Sarah played the role of I guess I'm talking about the cruise jumped on the couch.
There is a couch.
There is a couch. So if I get the urge, I am pretty excited about being here. So if I get the urge, I may be jumping on the couch a little bit. But, thank you, Sarah, for walking us through this.
Yes, and I am sorry I do not have any cards to give away tonight, but lots of good questions. We'll start with the most important one, I think, though. Why did you want the job of Nutrition Research Institute Director?
Great question. I promise that I won't be long-winded on every question, but this one's kind of close to the heart, so I may get a little long on this one. And it actually starts Christmas time 2011. I was at the University of Texas at Austin. I was chair of nutrition there. And my whole family, except for us, was in North Carolina. So we were back for the holidays and just having a great time with the family and senior one. And, my wife and I looked at each other on the way back and said, we've got to find a way home. And so fast forward a couple of months at the University of Texas, UNC, I'm a big UNC basketball fan. UNC was playing UT. And I'm sitting about 2 seats down from my dean. And I thought, oh, dear, this is because I'm a pretty diehard Carolina fan. So I've got to really control myself. And I managed about 15 minutes and started being the obnoxious Carolina fan that I am. My dean was giving me some looks, and that confirmed I need to get home. And so an opportunity emerged in that next summer, actually. Amazing how things work. And I just came back, and the position was primarily for a position in Chapel Hill, but I had heard about this institute, beautiful institute right here, Nutrition Research Institute, for a number of years. I'm an alum, so I would get the notes and probably Sarah's webcast and all sorts of things from there. So I explored an opportunity to maybe have a joint position out here. So for the last 7 years, I've been a one-day-a-week part of the NRI, and just loved it. How can you not love it? The staff and faculty are just fantastic. There's such a love for the community here, and the opportunity to come and be part of that. It was just such an honor. And I started feeling like, well, why am I only here one day a week? And, I almost regretted having to head back to Chapel Hill. And so when Steve Zeisel retired, announced his retirement late last year, he was the founding director of our institute. And was actually the department chair when I came through UNC Chapel Hill. So I have both my PhD and MPH from the Department of Nutrition at UNC under Steve. And so I've known him for a long time and long admired him. And so we'll say my first thought when he announced his retirement was, oh dear, that's what are we going to do? But then, as the kind of opportunity emerged, I realized, well, this would be something I would just really love to do. And I have some leadership experience from the University of Texas, so I thought, well, the last phase of my career, maybe continuing Steve's vision for the Institute and carrying on, really making this a world-class, world-renowned research institute that's really impacting our community and our state, and really the world with what we're doing. So, so I threw my hat in the ring, and just am so honored and pleased to be a part of this. And started June 1st. So I'm in my 5th month, and just I can't say I've loved every day, because every day is a little different. A few challenges that well, maybe I can't say I've loved every day. Every day is not easy, but it's been just a great experience so far. And the sense of welcoming, I still see welcome, and I'm still being welcomed. I've been here a few months, so really, just an honor to be part of this institute and this community.
And you mentioned vision.
Yes.
That is something the community wants to know about. Carol Spalding asked, what is your vision for the Nutrition Research Institute?
Well, we're on a terrific trajectory, terrific track that under Steve's leadership. We've really kind of led the way in getting nutrition research focused on individual differences in the way we metabolize nutrients, utilize them, how that impacts our body. And so that's we're going to continue on that track. I would say that perhaps the slight turn that I am encouraging us, we've just gone through a whole process of strategic planning, is to put a little more emphasis on some of the major health problems that are facing our community, our state. I'm a cancer researcher. I study nutrition and cancer, and so that one's a natural. That's certainly my interest, and there are some tremendous opportunities to impact cancer risk, our response to therapy through nutrition. Some of these areas are really understudied, so I feel like we can make some tremendous contributions there. So that's one area that we want to focus on. We also have a really strong brain health team. I'm looking at some of our faculty here. Thank you guys for coming out, smiling under your masks. I think you're smiling. But yeah, there you were, definitely smiling. But that's another area, because Alzheimer's disease is something that I think we all fear, right? Let's get it out there. And there's a lot that nutrition can impact in that process. Still a lot to learn, but we have some real strength there. The focus here is really kind of early life, really across the lifespan, early life nutritional exposures, how that impacts brain development, but also how nutrition can impact the later in life processes that keep our brains healthy, our cognitive processes working well. So that's area number 2. We've had a long-standing, I see Martin Kohlmeyer, we've got a long-standing interest in cardiometabolic disease, is what we call it. But that captures a number of diseases: heart disease, stroke, diabetes is in there. The issues that we're having with the sort of excess weight and how that impacts our health is something that we're very concerned about. And so that's also there, particularly a number of collaborations with our colleagues in Chapel Hill in that area, where we're world renowned in there. With the epidemiology, the study of human risk factors for those diseases, as well as clinical practices for cardiovascular disease and cardiometabolic disease. So those are our 3 areas. So I think we're still tracking around this idea of individual nutrition, and what I mean by that, I will say, our field, you could say, has had a sort of one-size-fits-all approach to nutrition. And we know that we vary tremendously in our genetics, the microbiome, the bacteria that we carry around in our guts and other organ sites have a tremendous role in how we metabolize nutrients and other chemicals. And so these components, our metabolism, that some of our metabolomics team here, we can measure the way we metabolize substances in our bodies very, very accurately now. All these have an impact on both our health and our risk of disease, and yet we haven't really accounted for that difference very, very well in the past. So this is sort of our theme song. We're going to keep our theme song. We're going to add a stanza or 2 at the end, I guess, and with a real focus around these three areas: the cancer, the brain health, and the cardiometabolic. And just one more comment, and I'll turn it back to Oprah here. Is that I played team sports all my life. I love, like I said, love Carolina basketball. Starting to love Carolina football a little bit too. This one approach that I have really enjoy, and I think really we benefit from is sort of research almost as a team sport, if you will, and really teaming up and combining. We've had tremendous success the last several years at the NRI in our individual grant approaches and trying to build up research programs. That's been really successful. I think we're at a stage now where we're ready to really team up and have a bigger impact on some of these problems that we're addressing. So that's the other piece, I think, is really more team approach to how we go about it. So it's exciting. Like I say, it's the most stellar group of faculty and staff I've ever seen. And I just loved it from the first day I showed up 7.5 years ago, and now love it even more as a full-timer now. So that's where we're heading.
Yes, so exciting to hear. I know, especially someone who works at the NRI, when you think about that team aspect, it's something that you want to get behind. So I love that is the driving force really behind where we're going. But as much as I love hearing about the team, we want to hear a little bit more about you. I'm interested, what does your lab research specifically?
Yes, so I mentioned we focus on nutrition and cancer, and particularly, how does what we eat? You always hear that we are what we eat. Well, that's really true in terms of a number of disease states and our overall health. But cancer has really emerged as a really very what we call a diet-dependent disease. And when I say disease, it's really a collection of diseases. Each has its own risk factors, own etiologies. Certainly that impacts the therapeutic side, but it also makes it very challenging to talk about how do we prevent this collection of diseases. And so there's a lot of work to do in improving that. It's become certainly among the top 3 killers in the world, and it's the number 2 killer in the United States. It's a major problem, and it's something that nutrition can really have a huge impact. So this is my motivation: is can we develop some nutritional strategies that will prevent cancer or improve therapy? Those are some of the 2 sides of that coin that we look at. And we were among the first to show, when I first started in my career, the sort of the cancer world was focused around the genetic drivers of cancer, these genetic changes that are really responsible for the development of cancer. And it was beginning to look like, or at least the sense people had, was that it's a genetic disease. There's nothing you can do about it. It's luck of the draw, and that's only partially true. There is some luck of the draw in terms of the genetics there. But what probably one of the key findings we've had is that no matter how bad the genetic cards that are dealt, we can have an impact on the disease process. And so that was, I think, one of the proudest things I think we've contributed is that understanding that using some genetic approaches to study this, that we can really have an impact on this process. So that's one. We have contributed to this issue of understanding how excess weight really does impact the cancer process. And more importantly, I think kind of the underlying causes of that. And it boils down to a couple of things: inflammation, which affects so many diseases, just chronic, widespread, unresolved inflammation. That's part of it. The other is sort of a systemic metabolic regulation change. Involves insulin, the hormone insulin. So those 2 are really at the heart of much of how this obesity, excess adiposity impacts the cancer process. The good news is we can disconnect it. And I think the field was starting to think, well, the only way to solve this is really to return weight back to a normal kind of lean setting. very difficult to do. So I think we've made some progress in understanding how we can maybe really intervene and disconnect the weight from the cancer. So that's another thing we're proud of. We're contributing to that progress. And, I will say, next to smoking, and perhaps now more so than smoking, obesity is probably the leading risk factor, the controllable risk factor that we have some control over. So it's become a major issue as our country has gotten heavier. So this is something that we're working hard on. So that is my effort. Lots of we do a fair amount of mouse work. The animal models are an important tool in the cancer field. So we've developed and utilizing those in conjunction with clinical trials. And I think one of my favorite approaches now, again, this relates back to the team approach, is linking with clinical trial, oncologists that treat humans, and that many, I will say, in the cancer world, there's a major effort in clinical trial, actually studying the treatments. It really reduces the cost for cancer patients, but it also informs us on rapidly emerging therapies. So that's an aspect that is we're making tremendous progress with. What we're trying to do is combine our laboratory work with those clinical trials in what we call a co-trial approach. And that's been the most exciting part of my lab, I think, in the last 7 to 10 years, is our progress in really accelerating the laboratory work with the clinical work. And we're working as a team. This is sort of a transdisciplinary approach is what we call this, where we're not just talking to each other from on Zoom, where although we are talking a lot on Zoom these days, but really being part of the same group and approaching this as a team is making, I think, some rapid progress. So,
and very exciting. No, it's so exciting because I think so often the interest that comes in when people want to learn more about the NRI is how can these research findings be applied to my everyday life? And a lot of the work that you're doing, the things that you're finding, can be applied by making those lifestyle changes and just really trying to break those links that you mentioned. It is applicable, and it's something that we can all think about. So I think that always makes the research, to me, a little bit more exciting, and it connects it from the lab into things that we can all do in our everyday life. So I think that was a great explanation. It's so exciting to hear a little bit more about what your lab is researching and how we can apply it.
Good. I'll add just a couple, some take-home messages, because I can't resist some take-home messages. So in addition to kind of keeping a healthy weight if possible, keeping physically activity may be equally important or more important. So regardless of if we've got 60 pounds, staying physically active is really critical. We found eating a sort of a healthy, kind of a whole plant, whole food kind of diet. So I think part of our issue that's become very clear is that in the U.S. we're kind of leading the world in terms of some of these health problems, right? And we've adopted these diets that are really heavy, starchy, sugary, highly processed foods, and that's just not a healthy pattern of consumption. So trying to get more. I think the bottom line, my simple advice on this is if you can't identify what you're eating, if it's brown and bushy and square or whatever, that's a highly processed food. It's, if you don't recognize the vegetable, fruit, or animal that your food is coming from, then that's probably been processed to a point where it's less healthy than something that you can identify as a fruit, a vegetable, piece of cow, and the like. So that's another area. And I'll leave you with one. How many are coffee drinkers here? All right, some good news. Relatively in the last 10 years or so, we're seeing a signal where there's something about coffee that is protective for a number of cancers. And so it's, now not everybody, you might need to pay attention to your caffeine, depending on your, what genes you've inherited might dictate how you respond to the caffeine. But the good news here is that decaf is looking equally protective. and the cancers that are particularly leading the way, liver, endometrial, and some breast cancer. So that story's getting stronger and stronger. Pancreas, how many remember in the 70s when pancreatic cancer was connected to coffee? A little bit of a concern. I'm old enough to remember that. Yeah, that turns out there's an epidemiologic term called confounding, and so it turned out that a lot of coffee drinkers liked a cigarette back in the 70s, right, with their coffee. And so that it wasn't the coffee that was causing the problem, it was the tobacco that was causing the problem in terms of risk of pancreatic cancer. So for the last 30 years or so, we kind of didn't really recognize either protective or harmful, but I think maybe as coffee consumption has increased, and certainly as some of these cancers have increased, we're seeing this sort of good news piece to that. So you don't need to stop your coffee from a cancer standpoint. That's for sure. So I'll leave you with that one. We still don't really fully understand the mechanism. There are some anti-inflammatory, antioxidant components. Coffee's comes from a plant, so there's polyphenolic compounds in many plants can have some anti-inflammatory activity. That looks like where the answer is. We've been known to administer, some of our mice drink coffee in the mornings with their breakfast, and so we're trying to get to the mechanism. But I thought I'd leave you with one. It's not all bad. There's a piece of good news there. That one's protected. Fruits, veggies, good, healthy. Kind of what your moms have all told you to eat all along. This was good advice, and probably minimize all that processed food, fast food kind of thing. That goes a long way to a healthy dietary pattern.
Got it. Skip McDonald's, hit the Starbucks. We're good. Fantastic. Let's talk a little bit more about.
Watch the sugar. Don't add 8 packets of sugar to your coffee.
Wait, don't do that. Let's talk a little bit more about team concept.
Yes.
And let's talk about Kannapolis. Let's talk about the research campus. I hear there are a lot of other universities here on the research campus. Do we work with them? What do you see for our future in working with those other universities?
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. That's a great question, because that's one of the coolest things about being here is that we're here on a campus that's focused on nutrition, health, and wellness, but it's with 7 other universities. I think I got the number right there. So the Nutrition Research Institute is the furthest left there. In our building is North Carolina Central University, a component there, as well as North Carolina A&T. The building to the right of that, if we look just straight out to the right, that's North Carolina State's Plans for Health building, and then there is the Appalachian State's exercise program. So they have a tremendous trying to assess this role of exercise. UNC Greensboro is in there as well, and then looking at the core building, UNC Charlotte has a major program there, as well as what am I missing?
Oh,
well, Duke's
goodness,
on
yeah.
the other side. I think I might have caught everybody. I think I'm updated. So it's a tremendous opportunity because so Chapel Hill, you've got all these departments, but some music may not have a whole lot to do with our work, and so it's great to be part of that. Not knocking Chapel Hill, but it's if you're talking about a focused effort on nutrition, health, wellness, this campus can't be beat. I can't think of another place that has this sort of breadth and depth. And we're covering a lot of ground. We tend to be more health-oriented, basic science-oriented, I guess I'd say. You've got the Plans for Health program, which is a little more on the agricultural side, but still with this emphasis on human health. How do we improve the health of our communities and our world? Just remarkable place. And we collaborate a huge amount. Look at Martin Kohlmeyer here. He, as I said, he runs our human research, our clinic, basically. And I think each of those programs has a component running through his core. So we interface tremendously. We all collaborate. The UNC Charlotte group out here is really strong in what's termed informatics and statistics. And so as our data has got more complex and the the sort of statistical analysis of that data and the management of that data has gotten more complex. It's often beyond what you know, what I can handle anyway. So we've got a whole group that specializes in what's called big data, bioinformatics, and statistics, and it's a tremendous resource. We're just a great collaborator. So yes, we are a proud member of the North Carolina Research Campus that involves a number of universities from across the state. But the components that are here are all nutrition, health related. So it gives us a real identity, some real strength, and we're beginning to write some programs that will help our students. I don't know that we fully capitalized on the strength yet, and that's something that I'm really enjoying connecting with some of our colleagues at the other sites, the other centers, because I think there's an opportunity for example, our students are increasingly needing that informatics expertise, and we can give them some, and through our collaborations, they'll get some exposure. But wouldn't it be great to actually have a program where our students and these UNC Charlotte informatics students and the NC State Plan for Health students that are also doing big data analyses, all kind of working together in one program that bridge across our centers. So that's getting me excited. So yeah, this place is remarkable. I can't think of another place in the world that comes close to the breadth that we have. That's one of our strong points.
Definitely. Speaking of those partnerships, we partner with other schools here on campus. We'd love to partner with the community. What about business and industry? Do you see a future for the NRI doing partnerships there?
We certainly do. I've got a shout out to Suzanne Dane, who's in the back. Where are you, Suzanne? Yes, there we go. Waving her hand. So she does a tremendous job of reaching out to a number of stakeholders in our community, including a number of businesses. So we have partnerships. I can think of Balchem is a major chemical food related company. We have a strong, long-standing relationship with them. We have a number of our board members here tonight too. Thanks guys for coming out. It's great to see you. Suzanne does a wonderful job of connecting with our board members. They've one of their charges, their task is to connect us with some of these businesses and organizations that are around, particularly in our community. And Tom Smith, remember the food line commercials from the 80s? Tom Smith, president. He was president of our board, chair of our board for many years. And so we've got strong connections with Food Line and many others that we've had. There are some in that core building. Yeah, that right on the end there. There actually are some businesses in there. This part of that building is meant to be an incubator for companies to come in. I think we particularly, I see Mark back there. Mark's been instrumental in this of getting particularly companies to come in, start programs here, startups, if you will, to a large extent. So this campus is more than just just kind of the university's research. There's a definite emphasis on building relationships with companies. The idea is that they'll come in, they'll utilize our services, our cores, and our expertise, and get things to market faster. That'll help again the economy of the area, of the state. That's the plan.
Let's talk a little bit about that. We've started to talk about the community, these partnerships. There's so much more to community than just our space here on the research campus. We're part of this broader community in Kannapolis that is absolutely beautiful, growing and booming every single day. What's your vision for our connection with the members of the Kannapolis community? How would you like to see that grow?
Yeah, thanks. We're so blessed to be part of this community. And my wife and I have really enjoyed being over here by a house outside of Kannapolis, between Davidson and Kannapolis. But we just love this area and being a part of this greater community. So I really value that. We can't do this by ourselves. we cannot be successful if we're siloed, if we're not, connected to the community. And, it's a two-way street too. I think that we can, through things like this, I recognize several of you have been to our Appetite for Life programs and other programs that we've had for over the years. And so I think that we take a responsibility for, trying to disseminate what we're learning and benefiting our community as well. So I think that's a critical part. Certainly, you can't help be around. We have probably half of our staff, 3/4. I don't know what number. I should know that. How many?
I say Brandy might know.
Brandy, how many? What percent?
I'm sorry to put you on the spot, Brandy.
What percent of our staff is our local, from the local area, born and bred? A high percent. 20% of the staff. So yeah. So it's hard not to be. Many of you know Ryan Dave. Many of you know Brandy Childers. I mean, these were long time residents. Families have been here for generations. It's almost impossible to not fall in love with this area hanging around with you guys. And I've told Brandy this, but I don't think I've ever said it in public. She's one reason. She would, every time I would pop by to say, "Oh, head back Chapel Hill, gotta go." She said, "You need to get over here full time." And, so well, look what's happened.
You did great, Brandy.
But I think that's the relationships that our staff has with the community. I love how it's really taken off here. Just in the 7 years I've been involved, 7.5 years, it's remarkable how much this area has grown and how much pride there is in the area. So yes, this is really critical for us. Something we talk about. Eddie Serrano, who's our deputy for administration, really an organized guy. He better be, because he needs to counteract some of my deficiencies. But we have a number of working groups, committees set up to really address, in part to match where we're trying to go with our health, some of our health focus, but also in part to really expand on our connectivity to the community. So this isn't lip service. We talk about this every day, and we've got a tremendous group working on increasing our connections to the community. So very, very important to us.
Also important, I know, to you and to all of us at the NRI is diversity and inclusion.
Yes.
And we had a question submitted from Angelica Lewis-Jones. She's very interested in, will you be committed to diversifying the Nutrition Research Institute staff with qualified Black professionals? And I would expand that to qualified professionals of all minority groups, and also paying comparable salaries to their non-Black colleagues.
Yes, diversity and inclusion, very important. It's an emphasis for our whole university. That's definitely an interest out here, an interest of mine. So one of the first things I did when I came on board is, I saw numbers that I never got to see as a non-director, and so it did occur to me we had some heterogeneity, some disparity in some of the salaries, and so we're addressing that. I think Brandy's hard at work with that, helping us to work that through. So we're the staff that we have. We're trying to make sure this is an age-old problem. Our doors have been open since 2008, so we're well into our second decade. And folks that have been here longer, there's an issue of compression of salary, especially in the state system. No complaints. We love you, North Carolina, but we're not known for our raises at the university, and so you get these kind of imbalances in salaries, particularly for our long-standing, most loyal, most wonderful staff. And so we're trying to address that. That's something that you just have to really keep at. And, it'll be a problem. If we don't address it constantly, it'll continually be a problem. So we're hitting that one. We have one of the committees that we have part of work is a diversity and equity committee. And so we're paying attention. We're in the process of recruiting some additional faculty. We recruited as I said, we've had a really good year on the grant side. So we've grown our research staff quite a bit. So we're paying attention to making sure we've got this rich a pool and as diverse a pool to get into these positions. And I think we've come a long way. Still ways to go. I can tell you, one of my goals is to develop a nutrition and cancer program. It's based here, but it's connected to the Lineberger Cancer Center in Chapel Hill and the Atrium Levine Cancer Center here in Charlotte. So we've got a kind of three-way discussion going here about how to do this. And relevant to the diversity issue, we've got an opportunity. There's a like the university has encouraged sort of a competition for some funding for particular areas that are focused on increasing diversity. So part of this partnership, we committed to 2 positions that will be in these are called first awards, and so it's to increase the pool that we can recruit from. So there are some major efforts to do improvements in our diversity. We'll say we've done well with women. That's but I think we've got a ways to go with really kind of the breadth of our diversity. So we're working hard at it. And I thank Eddie every day. He's got us really organized, using more and more of our talents, not only within our staff, but also some of our board members are on these committees that have. Did I see Tom? That's Richard just walked in. We have tremendous expertise in our board. Rena Shaw is our chair currently. Thank you, Rena, for just Tom's retirement stepping into that. Who have tremendous experience in other organizations and building this. So what a team Eddie and Rena and Richard and the gang are in this regard.
I think it would be very exciting to be able to look back in a year, 2 years, and be able to identify this as an area that we're also known for. You know, we're known for all of the wonderful work that we do in the field of precision nutrition, but to be known as a workplace that is diverse and that is really equitable would be a really great legacy as well. And it seems like you're truly committed to developing something like that.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So we've talked a little bit about everything at the NRI. All things considered, is there a project at the NRI, be it research-based or more administratively based, that you are the most excited about right now?
There's a lot to cover, so I might have to hit. I might spread that answer a little more broadly. I will say back to this team concept. I am excited about what I'm seeing in terms of some of the team formation that we're doing around that brain health. We've got a cancer group that have been fairly narrowly focused and are broadening, including a lot more. So I think that's one. I really want to see us get to that point where large kind of collaborative grants really, in my view, have more impact than these individual focus grants. I think the data is clear on that. We love our individual focus grants. We're not going to stop chasing those. But I think we can do more. We're pretty excited about this nutrition for precision health grant. I'll tell you about that as a good example. And it involves a huge number of faculty across NRI and the Chapel Hill campus. Maybe there's some Duke. We're big rivals on the basketball court, but we work pretty well at Duke in the laboratories. So I think there's a Duke component with this as well. But this really is kind of an example of a large, broad program that I would want to see more of for faculty, and so that's exciting. I think like I said, there's about 10 in my head of just really tremendous research opportunities that we have. I think I'll settle on because I'm looking right at it. Martin is, as I said, leads our human research board, and I think I'm that rose to the top because it is so unique. We have a clinic with specialized equipment that only a few places have. 7 places maybe in the country. 16. Okay, we're not as good as ours, though, right? There's the difference. But still, this, think of all the universities in the country. Are you counting world or country? 16 is country, is U.S.
That's the U.S.
Okay. Okay.
Still
All right, I won't undersell. 16 in the U.S. Ours is best, but it shows you all the universities, how unique that is. I'll bet you $1, Martin, that most of those 16 do not have laboratory collaborators 1 floor up from that. That's the unique thing. We've got clinic, we've got the specialized facility for processing energy and metabolism, and then a series of laboratories that complement that program. So one-stop shopping, we call it, for someone. And so the potential here, and I think we are on our way to really tapping that potential. And Martin's leadership, particularly the last 6 months, on kind of rebuilding that core, is really appreciated. And talk about a unique piece. That's the ability to look to really bring humans. A lot of places can do mice. We do mice. But the ability to bring humans in to do this sort of assessment is really, I think, remarkable. And so it's something that I think that's the thing that most excites me, is seeing that develop into years. It's going to be fantastic.
And that's something that can impact all of you in the room today. We won't give you all of the ways that you can participate in research. There are quite a few, but we do have our research opportunities listed on our website. We also do have a table to shout them all out. Martin is here. Bree is here from the Borganti Lab today. Julie is here. She represents quite a number of studies at the NRI. If you're interested in research, I'm sure they would be happy to speak with you, or you could reach out to us via the website or via email. We'd love to let you know how you could get involved in research. And speaking of involvement, I do have a question.
Yes.
Something that comes up a lot. People are kind of curious. We do ask for support as an institute. We reach out to the community. We tell them about our work. We are interested in finding supporters, people who are interested in our work and want to be a part of it. But a lot of rumors get spread around Mr. Murdoch, and I hear that he pays for a lot of stuff for us. Can you kind of address that a little bit and why it is that we do look to the community to support us?
Yes. Thank you, Sarah. I've heard that too. We thank Mr. Murdoch for the initial gift, and it's many of you probably know the history and saw it unfold. And we're grateful for this turning, what was unfortunately a closed mill into something that I think is really exciting and a tremendous asset to the state. So thank you. However, that was Mr. Murdoch's interests have changed, and I think he's kind of out in California, and I think not thinking about Kannapolis much of all anymore. So no, we're not funded by Mr. Murdoch, other than that original gift, and so we are blessed with state support, and that's our sort of our foundational funding to run our operations and maintain our facilities and that. We do pay a mortgage, and so the university will at some point, I think 7.5 years from now, own the building, but we are paying mortgage. So that's a chunk of our state funds goes to just like our households. We're a little limited in some of the things that we can do. And so, yes, I would say anything that we want to start new and new, kind of new adventures and initiatives. I'll give you an example. And this relates back to the community involvement. I think we found ourselves a little guilty, I think, of saying, open our doors, although right now we're not so open with COVID, but they will be, of sort of sitting in our nice building and waiting for folks to come to us and interact with us. and both in terms of research, but and that's really what I'm talking about. what we're excited about and are writing grants to fund now is a mobile unit, basically a mobile clinic that we can get into the community, and certainly Kannapolis, but even some of the communities beyond Kannapolis to interact. Certainly, this will help our research and broaden it, but also I think there's a lot of potential for school interactions. We're really excited about that. We've got some plans developing around sharing some of our expertise and knowledge. Bottom line, I think everyone at the NRI believes strongly that nutrition is really a key to good health. And so we want to spread that, get that word out, and help educate our community on some of the things that we're learning. So this is an example. So we've got these are, if anyone has a mobile clinical unit that you'd like to donate, these things are not inexpensive because we needed to have wheelchair access and all the kind of components. You can think of a clinic. You need a little bed. You need a refrigerator. You need a centrifuge for spinning blood. Those kinds of things. And so we are, I think, right now our eyes are a little bigger than our wallets for this, but we're trying to address that. But that's an example of the special project that we're trying to do. But I think it's going to make a huge impact on what we do, not only for our own research, but also how we interact. We've got, we really have some fired up staff that want to get out to schools. And so I think this is going to facilitate that effort. And also get out beyond Kannapolis into some of our surrounding areas. We're talking with some of the local colleges about teaming up with some of their students that would like to get involved in what we're doing. So I think there's some great opportunities for that. But yes, that's so yeah, we do part of Suzanne's role is fundraising, and that's why, because we while we're blessed with a beautiful facility, we have to maintain it. While we're blessed with a level of state support, it kind of is our maintenance level, if you will. So if we want to do something above and beyond or new, then we have to seek funds. On the research side, that's usually federal grants that we go, and that's had a good year, but that continues to be obviously a major effort for us. But some of these other, I would say more community focused activities that we want to do, I think that we're going to have to continue to seek some help on those. So yes, that's it. So thank you, Mr. Murdoch.
Yes.
But wish you were still here to some extent, I guess. But he's not. So we'll find other ways.
We have about 10 minutes remaining, so I thought I would transition a little bit, ask you a couple of fun questions to close out the evening.
The lightning round.
Yes,
Okay.
we did have one come in from Nancy Brooks. She is interested in what is the most interesting place you've traveled?
Most interesting place I've traveled. I will say I never dreamed that being a scientist I would get to see as many things as I have, but that has been a real pleasure. Getting invited to conferences in some really interesting places. So, what has been the most interesting place? I would say.
It's a tough one. It's not your favorite place, or like.
Most interesting.
What's the most interesting
favorite place is Scotland. I've got to say, because I've got Scottish roots, and that would be the favorite. I suppose I would say. This will be a little surprising, but the most interesting. Bratislava, Slovakia.
I've been there too. It is a really interesting city. Yes. Oh, it's fantastic.
Yep. Yep. Metabolism and Cancer Conference led me there, and I will say I wasn't sure what I was going to see there, but that just this beautiful castle on the hill, and
there's a Castle Brewery.
Castle Brewery, right on the Danube. But it was, I think for me, what was so interesting was there was a bit of a peek at sort of Eastern Europe, opening up, it's definitely not fully open yet, is it? I mean, you still see some evidence of things that it was just a fascinating mix, I thought. So I'll go with that.
I can endorse that. It's a
Okay.
really interesting city. I thought so as well. What about your favorite vegetable?
Spinach. Okay, spinach. Yeah.
Favorite fruit?
Strawberry.
All good for nutrients. Add those into your
I know,
diet.
I know it's a lightning round. Growing up, my folks had they loved the garden, and this huge strawberry patch. Part of my responsibility was weeding the strawberry patch. You'd think I would maybe not like strawberries, but I think I got this, got the sample as I went along. And so to this day, that's still my favorite.
And again, not quite lightning, but tell us a little bit about your family.
So I'm not a North Carolinian. I got here as soon as I could, but I married a North Carolinian from way back. I mean, her family was they were early settlers in Orange County, North Carolina, which is the Hillsborough, Chapel Hill area, and in like 1660 or something, way back. So, and my folks, actually, my dad retired, I guess, right as I was starting to head to college, and they ended up so born in Ohio, but they ended up in North Carolina. My sister has a large family, so they followed the grandkids to eastern North Carolina, Greenville. So Greenville kind of became home during college and grad school. And I came to UNC for grad school. Married this Carolinian. So that's so Marcy's her name. We're approaching 37 years. So that's and we have one daughter, Laurie, who my wife's a PhD biochemist, so we met at Chapel Hill. So my daughter swore she had not wanted to do nothing related to any of that. That was no way. But somehow she found her way to health and cancer research. And she's from a little different angle. She's a health communicator. But I know that's in your. But she works now with that's National Institute of Aging. Which I said was good. Now I'm getting older, figure some things out there.
Got a connection.
Yep. I got cancer covered. You go get aging figured out. My wife's cardiovascular, so we're trying to get covered. But yeah, she's up in the Bethesda, Maryland. Loves this area too. She's planning on. We're doing Christmas. We still have a place in Chapel Hill. But she wants Christmas.
Oh, that's fun.
So this will be all Western area Christmas for us.
That is fantastic. Well, I'm going to let you close it out with whatever you choose to share with the audience. If there's something I've missed, if there's any advice you'd like to give the crowd, however you'd like to bring things to a close for the Q&A session, I'll turn it over to you. And just a reminder to everyone, you do not need to leave right away. We have some time built in for a little bit more mingling. If you have any other questions for Steve, yes, food. So please do not feel like the questions end and it's over. Mingle, enjoy, ask us any questions that you have.
Very good. Yeah, just want to again thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you so much for being. It's a reflection of this community, but I have felt so welcome here from the very beginning. So I really appreciate that. I hope that you feel some ownership of our program in us. We certainly are honored and grateful to be part of this community. Come see us. Come see what we're up to. Ask questions about what we're doing. I mean, this is something we're really proud of it, and would love to share what we're doing. So don't be shy about that. If there are some things you'd like to see us do, that would connect more with the community, that's a high priority. So probably Suzanne, Sarah would be your main entryway to that, because they're really involved in the outreach side of what we're doing. But just thanks for coming out tonight. Really, I feel tremendously welcome. My picture's still up there though. Oh dear. No one wants to see that for an hour, so we'll get that. So thanks very much. Have a great rest of your evening. What a wonderful evening it is too. is it impossible to beat North Carolina in the fall? I mean, this is just, it is. Yeah.
Perfect.
So anyway, thank you so much. Come see us, and we'll look forward to interacting with all of you going forward. Finish up that food over there. Thank you.